It's all riding on this for the Cincinnati Bengals. A reputation of having a slow start could be reversed this Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. We're going to break it down, what the Bengals will need to do if they are to have a victory come Sunday, Week 1. Welcome to the jungle. This is Isaac Coffman with Bengals Digest. Happy to see all you Bengals fans, and if you want to show your stripes, if you think the Bengals are going to pull out the W come Sunday, smash that like button, show your love, and show your stripes, because we are here. We are in football season. We want to hear from you guys as well. If you think it's going to be a tougher matchup, if you think maybe this is going to be a continuing trend of not starting out the gate slow, comment below your thoughts and why you feel that way. Also, if you think they're going to win, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So yes, we are here. It is Week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. And on paper, the Bengals are showing to be favored against their rival up north, but still, anything can happen any given Sunday, as they say. So when we break it down, when we look at what is going to be coming their way for Week 1, there's some things to keep an eye on. Matchups. There's so many different matchups, moving parts. And you could say these are the Browns. You know, they had a down year. They've been having a lot of those here recently. I don't care. They're division rivals. And the Browns have been that thorn in the side for the Bengals at times, even on down years. The Bengals have just had their ups and downs. And Week 1 is going to be what kind of team are we going to see coming out the gate? Because they've been talking about how they have heard the fans, they've heard the critics, how they have been slow. All but 2021. If you go back the last 5 years, when it comes to the Bengals on the first 2 games of the season, going back 5 years, they have only won the first game in 2021. So 4 out of the last 5 years, they have been 0-1. Not end all be all, but definitely not how you want to start the season. If you're trying to get some momentum going, come out fast. I mean, it goes without saying, if you lose the first game, that's not coming out fast. So that's the theme. That's what we're going to keep hearing about this team. They're going to come out fast. They're going to just ride that momentum into a playoff hope. And it's Week 1. So there's lots of things. Take it 1 week at a time. The playoffs, they're going to come naturally if you keep taking care of business. So if you look at the side of the Browns, they have Joe Flacco. And a lot of people will say, well, it's Joe Flacco. He's 40 years old. Well, you have to look back at 2023. He did lead them to the playoffs. He went 4-1 as a starter in 2023. So Joe Flacco knows the system. He seemed to thrive well there. They were averaging 28.6 points per game under Flacco. Something to think about. I mean, it's a couple years removed. I get it. Flacco is older. But can these Bengals, can they take care of business? Because if it comes down to really a factor, I think it's going to be, can this defense, can it really take care of business against this Browns offense that on paper, they've struggled. And the Browns, they didn't have Joe Flacco last year. He was on the Colts, but they averaged the fewest points per game last season. So on paper, they got that going for them. This is going to be are they going to struggle to stop this Browns offense? I think if they do, that's going to be concerning. That's going to be my big red flag of, okay, they keep talking up this defense. They didn't show their hand in preseason. They are saying, the best is yet to come. Okay, you're going to be facing arguably the worst offense in the league. Even with Joe Flacco, if however you feel about it, I think he's older. I don't think he's obviously the Joe Flacco of old, but this is a prove it. I think that's where, okay, we can take your word for it, but this is where you go out on the field and you show it. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on. That's the matchup. You have Cleveland. Other weapons they have is Jerry Jeudy. Honestly, he can be a weapon, but he, I think, has a tendency to have drops. So can you take advantage of that? They're not going to have these elite receivers like the Bengals do, obviously, with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think that's another thing. Njoku might be one to also keep an eye on. He is that tight end that I think is very underrated. You don't really hear his name, but he is a threat. So are they going to be able to take care of him on that defensive side? Those are the matchups I would keep an eye on. Now, the running game, that's what's interesting. They don't have Nick Chubb anymore. He left free agency. He did have that injury, so you do wonder if Nick Chubb would have came back at full strength as well. But again, I wonder what is this running game going to do? Well, they do have a little bit of a secret weapon. I don't know if it'll be too much to go for, but they did recently just sign Mike Pinnell, who is off of the Kansas City Chiefs. What is so interesting about this is that he was one of the top-ranked defensive tackles in the run game last year. The fact that he was just out there on free agency, I think you got to just, slow down a little bit. They just signed him. They got to catch him up to speed. I'm not going to say he's going to come in here and just stop that running game, but he was just elevated to the active roster. That is the news that just came across. So he will be active come Sunday. Interesting. I think he's a veteran. He certainly could pick things up very quickly. But here's a factor. Here's a guy that if, I guess, things go south, if things really start to go bad in that running where you're seeing preseason vibes, if they start seeing that, that's where I'm going to be really, really concerned, because the thing I kept telling myself was that's preseason. That's just, a glimpse. They're not really, again, showing their hand. If that starts happening, that's going to be a long day. That's where we can really start shaking our heads, because that's a problem. That's going to need addressed. But maybe this is an answer. Maybe this is one guy that you put in there with TJ Slayton. That might be somebody that can finally get an answer, because that's what's going to come down to. That's what we're going to be watching. Can they get a solid run defense? Maybe he's the guy that can help. Maybe he's at the very least kind of that veteran presence that can come in and be a factor for them, because again, I think it's going to be the defense versus this Browns offense that you should be able to shut down. Now, on the flip side, you look at the offense. The Bengals have high hopes of being, if not top 3, just one of the top offenses. I mean, I'll be shocked if they're not top 5 offenses, to be honest. That's what their bread and butter is. That's what they're known for. So if they come in and they struggle against this defense, I'm thinking it's going to be Myles Garrett and this Browns defense. It's going to be tough. If they are able to get the Bengals offense number, that's where it's going to be concerning. I think they can take their hits. It's that bend, don't break mentality. Maybe there's a few stops out there. Maybe that offensive line comes out shaky. But if you can come back, get points on the board, just be consistent, I think that's what it's going to come down to. That is really the biggest threat. Myles Garrett came up on the injury report, but he will play on Sunday. I still would keep an eye on him. He's another factor, I would say, because even though he is going to start, he's going to be in this game. It was a hip injury. You never know. Those kinds of things could flare up. Those things could affect him where he's not 100%. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a little minor tweak and now he is 100%. So either way, this is a guy you're going to be watching. This is a guy that they are going to be game planning around. He can just take over a game. And if you don't stop him, that's where you make a mistake. He's one player. He is absolutely one player, but he is that good. He is that good at changing the game when it comes late, especially those drives. Joe Burrow, it's in his hands, and it's do or die. It's go down the field and score, or you lose. Myles Garrett could be the answer, and that's scary, right? That's scary with the offensive line, the question marks, but this is where, again, they can go out and prove it. They said they like the guys they have in-house. They're going to have Lucas Patrick starting. They feel confident in him, despite having a kind of a shaky preseason. They have Dylan Fairchild at left guard. He's going to have a lot to prove as a rookie. He's going to have his lumps. He's going to have his growing pains. But let's go. If you can hold up against Myles Garrett, I think that is going to instill so much confidence going forward. That's how I view it. So it could be a win-win for the Bengals here. If they come out with a victory, if they do everything that they're supposed to, that is only going to give you confidence to come out with a fast start and keep going. Remains to be seen. Those are the factors I would say keep an eye on. It's going to come down to those things specifically. Can the Bengals shut down an offense that they should be able to? Honestly, any defense on paper, they should be, unless, the Browns got something up their sleeve. You don't want to take them for granted, but that's going to be the factor. And it's obviously going to be this offensive line. I think as long as this offensive line holds up against Garrett and co., then you should see a W come Sunday. But we want to hear from you guys. Comment below. What do you think? What is your prediction for this Sunday? I have the Bengals coming out on top. I have it at about a 28-10. I'll throw out a score there just for fun. I figured they've got to get at least a score or two. I'm still waiting to see what happens, though. But we want to hear from you guys. What's some predictions? What do you think of Sunday? And what's your confidence level going into this game and beyond? And again, if you have not already, make sure you smash that subscribe so you'll be up to date when all of our new videos drop. So that's going to do it for now, guys. As we say, Hoo day.